You're listening to Bridge the Gap Season 4, a podcast dedicated to inform, educate, and influence the future of housing and services for seniors. This podcast is powered by supporting partners Propel Insurance, Enquire, LTC REIT, The Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity. Learn more at btgvoice.com.
So, Scott, there's a big audience out there on the Bridge the Gap network that were not able to be here tonight. This was an invite-only event that was completely sold out.
Oh, wow.
And
normally I don't get invited to those.
Right. Yeah, right.
I'm the guy outside the club going, hey, my friend's in there. Can you get me?
We don't believe it for a minute.
Not at all. Not at all. So for the listeners out there right now, the VIP Ignite experience has been nothing other than an experience here in Nashville. And there's been twists and turns. It's been an emotional journey for so many people, including Josh and Lucas. Scott, can you give our listeners that are back in their senior living communities a little bit of taste of what you talked about tonight?
Well, so much of it is, just the twists and turns and the bumps and the knockdowns and our lives are filled with so much color, and some of it is really beautiful and some of it's really tragic, and all of it is meant to, I feel, allow us to become who we are meant to be. So no one is bulletproof. No one is going to get through this life without, heartbreak or without fear or without some level of devastation, failure. Failure is just, I've really had a lot of fun processing failure, but it's just that. It's like if we're really going to live this human experience, we almost have to embrace every single aspect of it. Because, if everything's going to be joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, it's like a two-facet diamond. It's just an ugly piece of glass that doesn't do anything. But as you start adding facets to it of experiences and of perspectives and of, rising up above condition or failure or criticism or all the negative things that can happen in our lives, the more you do that, the more you add facets to your diamond, and then it's spectacular. I mean, it's unbelievable, that, we can be a shattered glass, that won't ever do what it was designed to do, but if you hold it up to the light, rainbows, so it's that, it's like, I'll never be that guy again because I already did that, right? So step into the next and try to allow other people to share in that mentality that, it's all about another day, another day, another day, another experience, another day filled with breath in our lungs and memories to be made, and not all of them are fun or easy, but if everything was fun and easy, it'd be boring, it really would be. It'd be just boring, and the more we have difficult times, the more we can recognize the good times.
So, Scott, one of the things, and I may get this quote wrong, so you correct me, but you were saying that you calculated, and it was over 41,000. 41,600
minimum.
Wow.
And a lot of those were in front of thousands of people.
Yeah. Well, but I loved what
That's fun.
I loved what you said, though. You said you also got up that many times. But somewhere in the middle there, when you were talking about that, I was like, what really was it that was motivating you to get up each time? Like what inside of you, every time you've been knocked down, every time you've had a diagnosis, every time you've fallen, what is can you summarize that?
Yeah, it's just, growing up and skating, it's just a part of the deal. You fall down. But if you can...
Ice is slippery.
Ice is slippery and unpredictable at times. There's ruts and holes, and there's, people that are knocking into you. And, I remember my first concussion as a kid, I was skating around and I tried to get between two adults, and they were going another direction, and they landed on my head, which explains a lot as well. But it's just, you get up from that, and it's like, wow, that was really, I'm not going to do that again. Okay, I'm not going to skate between two big adults again. So I learned, and it's each time, it's like I fell so many times learning that jump And then all of a sudden, I landed it all the time, and I didn't fall on it very often. And then I got the next jump, and there's a process. And it's like when I got into triples, I realized that I'd given a part of my body to each jump. Like I tore every single thing in my right ankle for the triple toe loop, right? I had a hip operation where it was swollen. It was like a bursa sac from just above my knee to just above my waist.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a floating cyst in there, and that had to be operated on. And then when it was like that jump turned out to be kind of the jump that put me over the top, because I knew that I couldn't fall on it anymore because it hurt too bad, right? So you just start landing it, just out of sheer will and determination, and pain is a powerful teacher. So the more you get over those hurdles that are built on falling and getting up, the more that muscle takes shape, and then you're able to apply it to other aspects of your life.
So encouraging.
It's like that old Garth Brooks song, Unanswered Prayers, right? All the times that we've fallen down thinking, or we've been dumped, or we lost the job. Like if I would have stayed with Ice Capades, my life would have looked completely different. So the fact they fired me or let me go, was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because they just didn't want men anymore. They only wanted women. So I built Stars on Ice. It still exists to this day. I left it, my goodness, 20 years ago. And
Incredible.
It's like, wow, it's still going. And it was a good idea, and it gave skaters a career and identity, and as professionals and entertainers. So it stood the test of time. But it's all of it. It's like cancer was really important. It was really important that I had cancer. It rerouted my life to the point where my life now wouldn't look like it does without cancer. And for that, I'm grateful. My brain tumor that I was born with, my goodness, if I hadn't had that brain tumor, I probably would have grown properly. I probably would have had a very normal childhood. I wouldn't have learned to be on my own in hospitals. I wouldn't have learned how to face scary situations and be somewhat independent at a very early age. All of that worked perfectly when I step on the ice and I'm there by myself and I have to rely 100% on me, So it's all of it works together. And if we can just take the difficult times of our lives and apply it in a way that we can use it to rise above another difficult situation, man, it's so worth enduring.
That's so powerful and so appropriate for our audience here at VIP Ignite Experience. So these are senior living, senior housing leaders, influencers from all over the spectrum. These are, there's actually caregivers here. There's actually family members here. There are CEOs that own or that run billion-dollar REITs. There are C-suite people that make decisions for small operations, for large operations, developers, contractors, products, tech companies, everybody here. And, one of the things about our pillars today, which is build trust and ignite change, Scott, I'd love to get your take on why is trust so important in not just the senior living industry, but no matter what organization you're in?
Well, trust is, it's its own pillar, right? It's like the beam that holds up the whole house, right? Without trust, nothing exists, right? You have to, live in the faith that, your lungs are going to work, your heart's going to work. You trust them, right? You trust that the sun's going to come up every morning, right? You trust that, you have a certain capacity to control the quality and the outcome of your life. You have to be able to trust, each step of the way in order to even decide to take it. It's like I have a car and it didn't start, right? The other day it just went dead, right? And it's like, okay, it was simple, it was a battery, but now I'm like, do I really want to keep this car? I don't trust it anymore. It's like, it always worked before, but it didn't work this time. Am I really in the right situation here? So, but it's you have to trust, and I think if you lead with trust, and if that trust is somehow betrayed, you've got to kind of like shrug that off and step into the next, trust transaction, because everything is so relational, and everything has to be done with a sense of quality and integrity, and without trust, nothing can stand.
That's powerful.
It's super powerful. What a silver lining for us to hear that. You talked about silver linings. This past 18 months, this industry has needed some silver linings. We've been hit hard. We've been knocked down a lot over the last. So I know this group out here.
Oh, especially this group. Especially this group.
Absolutely.
You know, because those people they serve are the most, vulnerable to this pathogen, whatever it is, So, yeah, you got to change the rules of the game. And if you can do that effectively, you can protect those people you serve. And I know I've got all these comorbidities that I deal with day in and day out. And I'm even getting now alerts from my pharmacy saying that I'm not going to be able to probably get some of the medications that keep me alive on a day-to-day basis.
Wow.
So, it's like when you hear something like that, it's like, well, if that happens, what's my plan B? It's like, how do I respond to that? And it just so happens I met a physician recently that does bioidentical, pharmaceuticals. So if I can't get those, maybe I can get these. If I can't control it with the drugs that I've been taking to make up for my weird metabolism, maybe now I can control that through diet and exercise. Maybe I can control it in another way by introducing something new into my world instead of just depending on the old to stand true. So there's constant change, and there's always something in the mix that throws us off the tracks. It's kind of how we get up.
Yeah.
And how we learn to process that allows us to really embrace the next opportunity and not fear it.
So one of the last things, we won't keep you too long. We've kept you.
Oh, you know
already.
me. I don't care. I can talk all night.
one of the things I want you to summarize for our listeners that I felt was really powerful was when you were talking about coming out of a surgery, one of the minis that you've had, and you had this thought in the back of your head, which was just be strong.
Oh, yeah.
So what was that, and what did that mean for you?
So my first brain tumor was in 2004. It knocked me down, and it was diagnosed as a craniopharyngioma, which basically means I was born with the tumor. So I processed that as like, well, what would my life look like without it? And it's like different. Okay, so the tumor's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, right? Well, it came back 6 years later, and it didn't feel like a good thing anymore. This one was like getting punched in the stomach because I got through cancer, chemo, surgery, then I went through the brain tumor and the gamma knife radiation, and I got back to life with a different physiology. I have diabetes insipidus now. I don't produce testosterone anymore. I have to take a steroid, a little tiny steroid every day. And I tell them, I go, what does it do? And they go, we don't know. And I go, what if I don't take it? And they go, you'll die. So I'm taking the little tiny steroid. And then there's, the thyroid issues that my brain doesn't work like that anymore, so I have to do that. And so I'm kind of dependent on those things, right? So it's just like, okay, well, that's my new normal. That's fine, right? So then when the tumor comes back and I have surgery and it doesn't go well, it's like, oh, that's not right. So one surgery became 9 brain surgeries, right? So then I think about that, and it's like, I'm still here. And God showed up in every aspect of it. It was remarkable. It's like a whole keynote about that period of time, but I got knocked down hard, and the first surgery created an aneurysm that they couldn't get rid of. Talk about a tick-tock bomb, right? It's like, oh my goodness. So I got through that, and if I can get through that now, I can get through anything, and then it comes back 6 years later. So now there's a pattern forming of 6 years. So in 2016, it came back. The doctors are saying, well, we could go in and do surgery again, except it's going to be really complicated, and it might be really tough. And you're not in the same physical condition you were back then, blah, 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 all that stuff. Or there's a targeted therapy that's for melanoma that happens to work on your type of cell type. And it's like, okay, all I heard in the back of my head was get strong. In other words, my entire spirit was saying get strong, and none of what the doctors were saying to me mattered at all. Do you want to go surgery or do you want to do the medical option? I'm going home to get strong. And what does that look like? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it intellectual? Is it spiritual? Yes. Right? So I call it the 4 legs of the chair. And if you've ever sat in a chair with one of the legs missing, it doesn't ever really work out very well.
You don't really sit in the chair, right?
No, it usually ends with a view of the ceiling, right? So it's kind of, I learned just to trust in that. If my spirit's telling me something really strong, I am going to step into that with trust. And if I have to adjust when new information comes in, then I'll do that. But the tumor shrank on 2 of the next 3 scans, and it's been pretty stable. It's to the point now where they want me to go back in every 6 months for an MRI, and I just I haven't, right? Because I don't really want to go into a hospital during, all the COVID stuff, and I really don't feel any symptoms of it right now. So I'm getting strong. I've never pushed and pulled as much weight as I can now, and I used to compete in the Olympics. I've never been able to endure all this stuff with my kids, with a real sense of power and authority than I do now, and it's because of all of that stupid stuff that I've endured. But it's all I look at it as a gift. It's a gift. I'm not cursed. I've had a lot of health stuff. But I've learned from each one of them that it's just something that we all are going to endure in some way, shape, or form, and how do we respond to it? And what does our inner spirit say? And so I try to, if I feel symptomatic, I get it checked out. If I'm 50 years old, I get my colonoscopy. If I'm 55 years old, I get my colonoscopy. If I'm 60 years old, I get my colonoscopy. It's you stay vigilant. Because vigilance equals early detection. Early detection equals easier treatment option and longer life. But it's also, it's all about living in faith. That I'm here. My duration has already been predetermined. And I'm going to live joyfully, productively, abundantly, and in gratitude. And, if that bothers people, I'm sorry, but, when I say good morning, I mean it, and when I say, it's that. We're all in it together, and we tend to, so much surrender to all of the things around us to the point where, when I wrote Finish First, there's a couple chapters that I really meant for millennials because they're getting crushed by social media and all this comparative stuff that's out there. And I tell them that criticism only comes in 2 forms, and one of them is opinion, and the other one is fact. So opinion is absolutely 100% deletable, disposable, and you just ignore it.
Everyone has one, right?
Right. and then the other is fact. If that criticism is based in fact, it's like, thank you. It's like Dick Button called me today. Who criticized me more in my life than Dick Button? He totally filleted me on national television. But it was that was all rooted in fact and honesty, and thank you. Next year, you're not going to be able to say that, right? So my job as a skater was to shut Dick Button up, right? and I was able to do that, and in that, I took his criticism and it turned into an Olympic gold medal. But, the other side of it is failure. So many people look at failure as toxic. It's like, I don't want to do that because I could fail. It's like failure is... Okay, let's just say this. My opinion, and it's based on experience, so now I'm an authority for all you people listening.
Listen.
Okay, this is really important. Failure is 100% information. It's feedback. That didn't work. Let's try it another way. Or let's try something else. Or, it's just that. It's like, think of anything in your life where you failed.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like some of it is not your fault. Like I failed at keeping my job with Ice Capades. It wasn't my fault. They didn't want me. That's okay. I got a better job, right?
Yeah,
It's like that. It's like I got dumped by some of the most amazing girlfriends I've ever had, and vice versa. But it's like, okay,
Sure.
Like, it doesn't feel good. But now I'm married to this incredible, like I swung for the fences in Grand Slam, right? But it's like that. It's like, wow. If any of those other ones, it's like Garth Brooks' song Unanswered Prayers. It goes back to that. Failure is 100% information. I've fallen 41,600 times. I got up 41,600 times. I tried a lot of things, failed at them, tried them again, failed, tried them again, failed, tried them again, failed, until your body and your mind and your spirit figures it out.
If you're not failing, you're not on the right path.
Well, you're not trying.
Yeah.
Right? When I ask an audience, I said, how many people in this room have failed? And I'm the first one to raise my hand, right?
Right.
And if I see, like, not all the hands go up, I go, well, either you're lying or not telling the truth. What is it? Or you're not listening, all right?
Sure.
I asked. Come on, listen to me.
Yeah.
Who in this room have failed? And then 100% of the people, of course, they raise their hand. Because it's the human thing. We fail. We fall short. We have to learn things,
Yeah.
you know? It's just that.
So, Scott, I mean, it would take weeks to tally up all of the successes that you've had. At this stage, and hearing all of these great stories, what's next for Scott Hamilton?
I honestly have no idea.
School tomorrow. I
I'll
know
go-
that with your kid.
Yeah, I
You
got a first
school.
day of school, and I feel like I'm let out of a cage now. It's so exciting. I'm so glad they're in school. They're so much better off when there's structure.
Yeah.
So I feel so sorry for all the families that didn't have school. And it's just, guys, we got to work this out. Those kids deserve and they need, and they have every right to be in school. So let's do this. But it's like they need it. They need the structure. They need to ignite their minds and their imaginations. They need to have responsibility and deadlines. They need to be prepared for what life brings them. So school's great, right? So
Good.
There's that. I threw my back out last week working out, so I got to get strong there. And just work that out. It kind of hurts all the time, but I'll figure that out because it's not my first
Not
rodeo.
your first rodeo.
But I don't know. I don't know what my next chapter looks like. I may or may not be at the next Olympics in Beijing. We'll see about that. It's just we're hosting the U.S. Figure Skating Championships here in Nashville in January. We're back for my big fundraising event in Nashville. Oh my goodness, our tickets go on sale August 27th. I'm not sure when this was going to air, but it's we have A-list Nashville music stars paying tribute to a producer and songwriter that died suddenly of glioblastoma multiforme cancer. So we're honoring him, and I'm meeting with his widow, his wife, on Wednesday to go over all the music, and I'm just so honored to be able to share his legacy, his genius, with the artists that brought his music to life. It's Lady A, Maren Morris, Grace Potter for King and Country.
Wow.
CeCe Winans is coming to join us
Incredible.
to give us some really strong inspiration.
Have church.
So we're going to church and we're going to play some good country music, and it's awesome. I mean, it's really, and we have a couple other people that are going to try to show up that we can't announce yet, but it's royalty of Nashville.
Wow.
Performing live for Olympic champion skaters to be able to
Unreal.
perform to their music at the same time. It's sensory overload. It's the coolest thing. People that see it go, how are you able to pull this off? And I don't know. It's just, this will be my 26th show. The last one we did before COVID, I'm standing on stage right watching Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean and Jason DeRocca singing for Steve Perry also. I'm sitting there, and Neil Sean looks at me and he starts, and I'm like, take me now, Lord. It's over. I'm like, this is as good as it gets, that I'm able to share this with my heroes.
Yeah.
And to be able to do something that's going to change the way people are treated for cancer forever. Lives will be extended. Quality of lives will be extended. And it happens November 21st at Bridgestone Arena. And I hope we fill the place to the top and honor Michael Busby in a really profound way.
Well, Scott Hamilton, we are going to connect our audience very quickly so they can go buy tickets
Yay!
if tickets are available.
Yes.
We're definitely going to do that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for showing up for us today.
Oh, it was fun. It was meant to be.
So it was meant to be. Lucas and I didn't start the day ever having a clue that we would be sitting. And the most jealous person, I'll tell you that the most jealous person when they hear this podcast is my mother.
Aw, give her my love.
She's the biggest fan.
I love moms.
And so thank you for showing up. You're a true hero to 200 people here and the ripple effect that they will go back to communities.
Incredible.
And take the message and the motivation. Thank you for living your purpose and encouraging us tonight.
And thank you for what you do. You know, our aging population, you know, we can live longer. And when we do, we just need a little support, you know, in our last season. And I'm just so thrilled at what you're doing to make that experience better for them and for the people that serve them. So God bless you.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, for those of you listening, Scott Hamilton, standing ovation after his keynote here on the rooftop at the Bobby Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. VIP Ignite Experience 2021, Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to connect with Scott and his details in our show notes. And you guys, this has been an incredible experience for all of our friends and influencers in the business. Josh, signing off to all of our listeners, Bridge the Gap. Thanks for listening.
Be strong.
Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap podcast with hosts Josh Crisp and Lucas McCurdy. If you were informed, educated, or influenced by this episode, we want to know. Leave a comment on social media or contact us in the show notes. Powered by supporting partners, Propel Insurance, Enquire, LTC REIT, The Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity. Learn more at btgvoice.com.